set?
Yep.
Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome to the day of January 2021 Selectmen's meeting, Town of Ware. I'm going to call order and have a roll call, see who's present. Vice Chairman Hippler, are you there? John Osborne, are you there? Sherry Burdick?
Yes, I'm here.
And John Van.
I'm here.
Okay, so we're all set. First item on the agenda is
Public
there for
comment.
public comment?
Yeah, actually, we had Vinny Iacosi is on the phone. He had asked if he could speak during public comment. Vinny, you out there?
I am. I'm ready if you are.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The reason for my call tonight is I'm the AT&T Corporation, and we are in the process of getting the Duck Pond subdivision up and running. We've had an issue with the approvals on the cistern for various and sundry reasons. We've met with every board I think the town has, except the cemetery department. And the cistern is now on state. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for this coming Thursday. But we're actually between a rock and a hard place. If you remember, we made an agreement with the town and the Board of Fire Wards to provide certain equipment to the fire department in lieu of a second cistern, and we redesigned where the cistern would be and relocated the easements, and all those things are done, and we're finally ready to go. Unfortunately, we have one house, and the individual that's purchasing that house is now living in a hotel. From my understanding is that all of the required construction inspections have been done in a satisfactory. We're asking for some relief to give the gentleman a temporary CO. The cistern will be up and running by the end of next week, and I don't really want to continue to pay a hotel bill. So that's where we're at. We started this process way back last February, February of 2020, to get the cistern design and redesign and the shifting around, and come to the agreement with the Board of Fire Wards and the fire chief for the equipment. And the chief had that equipment since July, so we're asking if it would be in the board's area of jurisdiction to allow at least a temporary subdivision to get the cistern up and running. That's that, and I would appreciate that. Hello?
Jack, you're muted.
Pardon me?
Hang on, Jack was trying to talk, but he's muted. Jack, you're muted still. Jack. Does anybody else want to weigh in? I'm going to see if I can go. Ricky, John.
Yeah, I'll weigh in. Vinny, I don't know if don't feel selectmen's wrestling. I understand what you're up against. I understand what the gentleman's up against. But I feel that needs to be taken up with Board of Fire Wards, the fire chief, the building department, and the building inspector. I feel that if they feel comfortable in giving you the temporary CO, that's in their realm.
Okay.
I don't believe that that's ours, but I could.
Okay, well, no, nobody, excuse me, nobody was quite sure. Chief Vizina had no problem with it because it was only going to be a week or 10 days. But there's no path to get an answer from anybody. That's why I figured I would start here, and then, if you feel it's not within your jurisdiction, then I'll bring it up at the pre-construction meeting on Thursday when everybody who has a direct bearing on the case will be there.
This
Right.
is Selectman Van. I agree with Selectman Hippler. I don't know enough about this to make a judgment either way, and this isn't really. I don't believe anything comes for us. Even.
Okay. I guess, well, Mr. Tebow and I wanted everybody to realize the predicament we're in between COVID, the weather, and everything around, and it's getting down to the short strokes. So we're hoping to get some direction, but if you don't feel it's within your jurisdiction, I'll bring it up with all the parties on Thursday when they'll be present for the reconstruction meeting.
Vinny, I think that would be best. Again, speaking as one member of the board. And again, the fire chief and the building inspector and that whole, department are going to be well more versed than we are. Again, like Selectman Van said, this is the first we've heard of a conflict, and we have no idea, what you're up against, what the cistern looks like, et cetera.
Okay, well, there's not a conflict. It's a begging for mercy. We've done everything. It's just that with COVID and people being in and out, the town's engineer, Steve Keach, was out for several days, actually several weeks, with COVID. And so nothing was done over the summer other than some preliminaries. He finally came back to work the end of August, and we had a number of planning board technicalities because we moved the cistern from one location to 100 feet further to the east for a better coverage of the entire subdivision. We had to redo the easements. We had to redo the driveway permits and a new easement deed to the town for the new location. So those things take time. Sometimes the courts were not open. Sometimes we couldn't do any title work. So it's been a long year, and we're just happy that we can get it underway. And we were hoping that everybody would understand the situation.
Well, thank you, Benny. I can appreciate that. Again, just, and like you said, it's been a very difficult year for everyone. And like you said, with everything getting extended, et cetera, hats off to you guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all your time, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. Hopefully we'll get this all resolved on Thursday. The cistern will be in the ground. The fire chief will be happy. I will definitely be very happy. And, hopefully we'll have a productive year. So thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
I'll be signing off. Any questions?
Thank you,
No,
Vinny.
no questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Anybody else for public comment?
Hang on. No, Frank had asked, but he was going to, Frank's on the mute side, so he'll be all set. So you can move on to the next one now. I just want to tell you, you have Zach Lawson is on, Wendy is on, Zach is the chairman of the John Stark School Board, Wendy's the chairman of the Ware School Board, and Jackie Coe is also on. I know it says sign the town warrant, but in order to sign the town warrant, we have to have a little bit of a discussion about deliberative session and what you're gonna do moving forward. But Zach, I think they have to be off by 7, so I wanted to see if we can have that discussion before the rest.
Yeah, we'll put it in now under the department heads on committee.
All right. I'll let you take over.
Okay. I think the general consensus for the town, and we haven't polled the rest of the Board of Selectmen, but we're looking to move forward for the regular date. I understand with the new emergency order, it gives certain changes, and the school is looking to postpone it. So I don't know what the general consensus is as of this after the emergency order on Friday.
Jackie, go ahead.
Okay. I believe, the emergency order took us a little bit by surprise, and our understanding from the school district attorney is that that does allow a decoupling of the town and the school elections, and that's different from before the executive order. So I think all the boards are meeting on Wednesday to have the second part of the discussion. They needed time to think about what they wanted to do now that up until this point, they didn't have a lot of decision-making authority. And now there is an element and a decision that they need to make. So they'll be meeting on Wednesday to decide what they want to do. And with an idea towards coordinating between the school districts so that because it does open up the possibility of, potentially, if the districts chose 3 different dates, possibly 4 different voting sessions, which is, ridiculous. And so the idea would be coordinating that if there was a postponement.
Well, coordinating it with the school districts, I guess, would be up to the school board and that governing
Right.
board. As far as what the town does, it wouldn't have much, except if we move forward. The way I read it is that you'll be responsible for running the voting. If the voting is done in the town, for the town of Ware, you'll be responsible to do that. It won't fall on it'll follow the town clerk and those people, but it will not fall to the town moderator. It will be your moderator that will have to moderate that meeting. It's a school board issue.
Just like it always is, a school
But
board.
you'll actually be running the polls.
No, the official ballot would be, still remains with the town.
Not the way I understood it from a decision, is that the responsibility is going to fall upon the school board. If we move forward ahead of you and you decouple from it, then at that point, you'll be responsible, is the way I understood it.
Yeah, I believe that there are other situations where if a teacher contract or a budget doesn't pass, there is an opportunity to have a follow-up meeting to revisit that. I don't think that's been exercised very often, but that is an option. That is followed by another official ballot, which is a town election. And so we have had that happen in the past. I believe we had a Stark election a couple years ago. And so we would run it the same way.
Can I just ask a clarifying question here, just because to your point, actually, Jackie, there's a cost component associated with this, and then there's like the aspect of election officials and who sort of presides over the event. And the specific nuance to what Jackie's bringing up is in those instances where John Stark in particular has prompted a follow-up election, the school district has paid for those elections. However, my understanding is that it is still the town officials who are elected into those positions that have to preside, if that's the right term or the right verb, over the election. I think that's what you're really getting at, right, Jackie, is how that would be made available. And I'm not entirely certain if that's if there's a counter to that, or if that's the way everybody understands it. If cost is the issue, we're already under the impression that would be a burden, or that would be a cost incurred by the school district to hold a separate election should we decide to delay. That's our current understanding.
I believe that is correct, and I
Okay.
believe that's what's happened in the past.
Jackie, do you know if Gordon and Cordell got a chance to talk today?
They did speak, and I did have a conversation with Gordon, a brief conversation where, and I'm uncomfortable speaking for Cordell, but Gordon seemed to think that that Cordell acknowledged his position. I don't know if they've come to an agreement, but that he
Only
acknowledged.
because you and I had talked, and I know they were going to talk, but
Yep.
I guess, so Cordell and our attorney talked, and according to what they came to an agreement, I have it in writing from the attorney, says that the emergency order does not authorize the school districts to continue their elections if the town does not. For your purpose going forth, she said, for your purposes, go forth and have the town election as planned. If John Stark decides to go off on its own path or where, it's going to have to figure out how to do that and how it will need to pay where for any services where would provide separately for that election. So,
Mayo, you're freezing.
Yeah, sorry, Naomi. Yeah, you froze up there. We didn't catch that.
this internet's not as good at the town office as it is at my house. It just going forward, the cost is what, it sounded like Cordell and Laura had come to an agreement that what we do, the schools follow. I know maybe Gordon and Cordell acknowledged what Gordon's position was, which anything, you put a room of attorneys in, you're never going to get the same answer, just like we're all trying to come up with an answer. But she was very adamant that whatever cost the additional election or elections are going to be, it's solely the responsibility of you guys to handle that. Because we have supervisors
And I
that are.
believe that's what's happened in the past, right?
Right, but it would be like the
With-
whole day of 11 or 12 hours at the poll. You'd have to pay for all of those clerks. Somebody would have to moderate, I would think, and watch over it. Somebody would have to count at the end of the evening. It's not just 12 hours, it's more like 15 or 20 by the time
And
things are done. So I
believe
don't,
that's what I believe has happened in the past. We conduct polls for full days in the past as well, haven't we?
We did. We had one, I would say 3 years ago for
That's what I
John
thought.
Stark.
Yeah.
We revisited the teacher contract, I believe, in June. And so there was a separate meeting, and then there was a separate follow-up polling actually in both towns.
can I
And
just
so the
ask an
cost
odd
incurred
question?
included, the renting of the Scantron and the payment of the officials and all of that for the entire day. It was not an inexpensive affair. We were aware of that.
Can I just ask a odd off the cuff question? What's the reason for moving in a different direction? What's the reason for holding off? I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, because anything, honestly, and the COVID thing, I can't see it being any better in April than it is this time. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is or why.
So no, it's a fair question, and I think the discussion, there's two parts to this, and I think the first one had to do with when we were under the sort of the guidance of the school district moderator to determine whether or not whether they would ask to postpone or desire postponement. It had everything to do with an interest in safety. The board's separate, but a sort of aligned position on that was that when you split a hair over this, the point of a school meeting it's not a school board meeting. It's actually a legislative meeting of the body politic. And so our goal in those meetings is to make sure that we can do what we can do to promote as much of the body politic to be in attendance as absolutely possible. So in a situation where we have a wide range of concerns and a wide range of political viewpoints and a wide range of just general viewpoints about the safety related to this particular issue, we felt that it was the board's best position to support the moderator's position of delaying this until we could actually get a much better representation of the community, or at least an environment where we could mitigate more of the concerns that would allow the public to attend this legislative session. And then we were in the midst of that exact discussion when we heard news about the executive order last week. Effectively shifts the responsibility from the school board's moderator to the school board. And so even though we were in alignment on separate tracks, then it becomes the school board's discussion around, okay, well, if that's what we are intending to do, that is what we are intending to do. And that is the reason for why, is to make sure that we can have as representative a body politic in a legislative meeting as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter what time you picked, it's never going to please everybody anyway. I just thought we have come up with a solution. This is I spent Saturday down there looking at the DPW garage. It's 80 by 100. There's a way of keeping masked and unmasked. There's a way of opening the door and keeping the air for anybody that wanted to stand outside. I just think people are more routine to February and March versus, April and May. They'll forget about it. They won't put it on their calendar. And then you'll get grumblings in that. There's no easy situation, as we all know. I'm just trying to keep normal as normal can be. That's my personal opinion.
And we appreciate that. I think the other angle that we have, and part of the reason that we need to meet as a series of boards together this upcoming Wednesday is John Stark in particular is sort of sitting in between what the Ware community does and then what the Henniker community does. And Jackie made the point a moment ago about making sure that we don't force either town, Ware or Henniker, to have up to 3 or 4 elections simply because of what one town does or the other. So while our motivation and our push is to want to make sure that the body politic is as representative of the community as possible, if we take that stance just blindly, we run the risk of burdening the towns with multiple events, and that's not what we're really interested in doing. So for tonight, looking for, but what we're hoping to observe tonight, and I think we sort of got our general answer, is what it is that the town of Ware is looking to do, because that at least sets some framework for us to be able to operate with when we eventually do make our decision in very short order here, because time is growing tight. Jackie, have I misstated any of that, do you think, or is that, have I missed anything there?
No, and I think, part of what has happened is there's been a shifting of where the decision-making power options are available. We've just been reacting to that and have to get the boards together, have notice to that.
Right.
So I don't know that the Ware School Board is necessarily not going to go along with the town. Or that John Stark won't revisit their position, but I think you're good to go ahead and post and move forward. Right. And we've already posted, and this would be about postponing. So as of right now, we're slated to move ahead on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th of February.
Yeah, and we've always said that we would help you in whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you move ahead, the DPW garage will make it work. I'll be there, the DPW director, you'll have all our hands to help.
Mm-hmm.
And that is information the boards don't have yet, right? Because you and I talked today.
Yep.
And so, perhaps that makes a difference in their discussions on Wednesday.
Yeah, because I think it would be, we have all the tables, all the chairs. I've got the cable committee ready on board. Got the fire department that's willing to check temperatures, ask all the questions, the forms for the contact tracing. We have an area in the back part of the DPW that would be solely, nobody with masks would touch the unmasked people. I'd be happy to send over my hand sketch to show you that it would work. And we're all here to do this together, because I don't want to hear grumblings either about, oh God, we got to do a second town meeting or a second school. You know what I mean? We're all in this together. think if we can stay aligned would be the best. And like you said earlier, and same thing with Zach, you're never gonna make everybody happy. That ship sailed a long time ago.
That is the one absolute truth of this situation, is that there is no pleasing everybody.
Yeah, and everybody would like to do this Zoom thing, which you can't do.
No.
They all, I offered to make Zoom available, but just so that people knew where we were in the part of the warrant, because we have a lot more articles than you do, and they will pertain to, if they want to talk about the DPW car or the truck, they could then know that we're going to be doing that next, and they could drive down, That's the only reason I would do it, just for live streaming it for people.
Yeah.
And I could do the same with you. I'd be happy to. Keep that in mind.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah, you're
Naomi.
welcome. So Jack, I think, I don't know if Wendy's on, if Wendy has anything. Thank you, Zach and Jackie, but I know Wendy's on too.
I think Zach captured it very well. I think
Okay.
the reason we were looking at the deliberative session in April was so that we could do it outdoors and fully outdoors and be able to spread out more. That was
Okay.
the thinking behind us delaying, because obviously we're not going to have, herd immunity and COVID's going to be gone in 2 months. But that was kind of the argument for the timing delay, particularly in our deliberative sessions. I don't know about yours, but we tend to have an older body politic. And so I think our big concern was to not alienate them from the discussion. So that was the outdoor reasoning. But got a lot of good information tonight. We're going to meet Wednesday.
But we could have snow in April, Wendy, if we want to go outside.
Sure. Whoops, my calendar. That wasn't on. Sorry, there's my face.
That's okay.
But yes, but then it'll melt like in 2 seconds in April. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, I know we all have. Yeah, I just was curious why the thought was. That's more in my mind.
No.
You know,
I think the real challenge is, like, we literally got the news in the midst of our deliberation at the end of last week.
Right.
And so I totally agree with you, Naomi. Like, I even floated the question, like, is there something that's expedient about doing our whole process sort of as normal as we go along? And even cynically, we don't get a huge turnout at the John Stark deliberative sessions. Historically, it has shown that it hasn't happened. And so we do need to take some time to evaluate that and decide whether are we going to do the service to the original point and mission, which is to make sure that we're getting as representative a body as possible, right? Or are we just sort of like, are we creating a rather expensive sort of hurdle to go through when it's not going to make much difference? And we need some time to think that one through. That's not a decision that we should just make sort of on the spot.
Trust me, I wasn't any more disappointed than anybody, because we had a meeting on Thursday night with Henniker and all the moderators and everybody. And we had walked away Thursday night with what we thought was a great solution. Everybody kind of had been on board a little bit. And then Friday at whatever time he signed that thing, it just totally took a tailspin.
Right, exactly. And so, like, to the point that Jackie was making and I made a moment ago, like, now we actually have more irons in the fire, or more variables that we have to consider and make sure that we're, John Stark in particular, that we're not complicating things even worse than they already were.
Right, because you had one person in charge before, now there's 5 of you.
They're exactly right. Exactly. Right. That's exactly right. Yep. So anyway, I respect what you were getting at before. We are all in this together, and we will find a way to make this happen.
Absolutely, we always do.
Yep, you got it.
We're New Englanders.
So actually, if you'll pardon me, I actually have to jump into another meeting, guys. But thank you.
Thank you, guys. We bounced it around, Jack. Just so we have other things to do too. So Wendy and Jackie, if you guys, thank you guys for tuning in last minute. I appreciate that. And Jack, I'll let you take over, and I'll put myself on mute.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Good luck with the rest of the discussion.
Good night.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
See ya.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Okay, the next item on our agenda is going to be sign the 2021 town warrant. And part of that, I think at this point, the board should have a discussion as to whether or not we want to move forward on the 6th to have our town deliberative session. Ricky?
I said I'd be quiet, but I'll have one. So The warrant is done. You guys have signed it per se. The only thing the warrant does have on the front page is where and when and the date for session 1. So that's what you need to discuss.
So part of that is, I guess, the date. Do we want to hold to the same date?
I don't see any reason not to personally,
Okay.
especially the provisions that have been opened up as far as the DPW garage and the plan that we have down there.
Okay, so you're in favor of the DPW garage at this point?
Yeah, I would not be in favor of the parking lot idea,
No.
but definitely the the DPW garage, if that's can be made to work, I'm in favor of that.
And just the background on that, I went down Saturday along with the moderator and the highway superintendent and Naomi, and they've got it pretty well planned out that the far end bay would be for the non-masked or those who want to be outside, and the rest of it would be set up for social distancing. That way the heat can stay on and the rest of us can stay somewhat comfortable. And they've got it laid out pretty well that we could have plenty of room in there. It'd be a lot bigger than any other venue at this point. So I agree with you. I think my personal feeling is to go forward with it and use the DPW garage for that purpose for this meeting. How about Sherry?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me whether, we do it DPW or I think there's more room there, so I'm happy with that. And I think it's better to move forward and have it on the 6th because now we've got this other virus that's is worse, it's coming off from the first one. And if it's going to get worse, I think that people ought to come out and do whatever earlier than keep waiting.
Okay. John Van.
I agree. Let's hold it as scheduled. Repeating what Sherry said, it's right now the devil we know versus the devil we don't know. And in addition to that, we kind of owe it to the citizens to try to keep somewhat of a normalcy with everything going on. We got a lot of stuff we got to take care of, and the longer we postpone, it doesn't sit right with me.
Okay. And John Osborne.
I am in complete agreement with using the DPW garage and having it on the 6th of February.
Okay, I guess that pretty well settles it then. Do we need to make a motion for that, Naomi?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Well, you couldn't read my lips on that one?
No.
So I said I was going to mute myself, but so all I got to do is print the front page. So the front page is going to be the first session will take place on February 6th at the DPW Garage, 224 Merrill Road. Second phase would be the March 9th at the middle school because we're always going to vote there anyway. So I'll make that change. You don't need to make a motion. It's pretty unanimous where we're going to go. So I can take it from there.
Okay.
Naomi, when do we, or Jack, either or, any of the comments that were discussed in the public hearing? When are we going to talk about any of that?
And we can talk about that, right? We'll plug it in right after the next item on the agenda, the town office opening back up, whether you're in favor of that, and then we can go into that.
Okay, there was some topics brought up in the public hearing on the budget, and I just want to make sure we touch upon them, that's all.
Okay. We can do that right after that. If there's nothing else on the article, the town warrant, then we'll move on to the discussion on the town office status regarding COVID-19. Anybody have any opinions?
I say let's visit it again in another month. Let's revisit it at the end of February, and supposedly we're on the downhill slide, according to the news, if you believe them. I don't want to risk it. It's the only concern I have with this is, and I've discussed it with Naomi, the added workload on her having to moderate everything remotely with Zoom. I'm sure it takes up quite a bit of her time. That's the only concern I have.
Okay. Ricky?
Yeah, I would say that we status quo for another month. Everything seems to be working, quote unquote. And as Selectman Van said, there is added load on Naomi. but in my discussion with her, it's like I said, the town's flowing. And to me, the back and forth would be very confusing for the citizens. So a little consistency would be probably well welcomed.
Okay, Sherry?
Ditto, agree. Let's go another
John?
month.
Okay, John?
Yeah, I agree. Go out another month.
Okay, I agree. I'd like to push it out 2 months to the end of March. That way we get the voting and everything behind us. But if the consensus is we go another month, we'll go another month.
Oh, we can always revisit it in a month too.
Yep. Okay. So I guess we'll stay status quo.
Yeah, I'll share that with the rest of the staff and let everybody know, and we'll update
Okay.
the website.
Okay, Ricky, now the discussion you wanted to have about the public hearing the other night with the warrant in the budget.
Yep. You know, in a lot of good topics were brought up. You know, I think we need to look again at the payroll line for the PD, as Dick Butt talked about. I'm not against at all what we did as a board by and taking the recommendation of the police chief for bringing in more experienced officers. But I feel that the default number is a default number. I feel that we've been through this before when we gave former police chief Sean Kelly a raise. We had and his number was in default, the old number, and then the new number for the payroll was in the proposed budget. And we had to find it bottom line. I'm not saying anything about the percentage raise for the CBA or anything like that. That all needs to be included in there. Obviously, that was already approved by town vote, but I think that default number needs to be changed from what we have potentially. Again, I have not crunched numbers and I have not talked to Beth about it yet, but if that number is not in line with last year plus the 3% or 3.5% CBA, I think it needs to be rearranged personally.
Well, the number for last year's at the CBA, the original part was not the 3% just for them. There was a bigger increase for that in there.
Right. No,
The
I
first year
remember
of the
that.
contract.
Yeah.
So that's part of the number that's reflected in the first for the default. That shows in the default number. That's got to be reflected in that, which wasn't reflected in last year's. Which
would make sense. No, I don't disagree. Again, whatever follows the CBA ruling, the percentages, et cetera. I know that there was kind of a front load on the first year, and then it went 3.5%. And I'm 100% in agreement with that. We have to put that in the default number because that was a town warrant. But if there's anything to just include over that, because you know we as the board and the police chief recommendation was to hire at that higher rate. I don't know what we had slated for. I know in the past we had slated for you know, somewhere with like a bachelor's degree, and I think the family plan on insurance. But again, if that's still in line, then I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure that default number lines up accurately to everything that has been approved at town warrant and not by this board per se.
Okay. Anybody else?
And I think that to the point, I think that's what Mr. Butt was trying to get at, was the fact of making sure that that was lining up. That's all.
Right. And I know the discussion that the other night, it didn't get brought up. I had forgotten about it till afterwards, that it was front loaded at the first year after the negotiations to like 6
or 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5%. And then after that, it was
3.5%. Yeah. Right. So I just, like I said, I just want to make sure that that number represents that. I mean, we've had it in the past where, you know, where we as the board have given raises, but that became proposed number, not a default number.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that all reflects accurately before we, you know, put it out there onto the ballot.
Question that, Ricky, only because you're talking about employees that have been given a raise. This is slightly different, I think, in terms of it's not people who have been given a raise. out of turn, if you will, but it's more about new hires that are hired at a higher step. That's the only thing I'd like some clarification on, maybe from Beth on that one, if we can get that in a timely manner.
Yeah, no, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not accusing anybody of trying to inflate a number that's not there. I just want to make sure it's accurate in how it was derived. That's all.
Oh, I agree. I just, like I said, you were talking mainly about those who have those who were given raises. I just want to make sure we're talking about those plus the new hires that were hired in at a higher step because of their past prior experience and their level of education, et cetera.
Right, and my only thought is that we may not have allocated for that amount of money in that other number, in last year's operating budget. So I just want to make sure that's all accurately reflected and legal. That's all.
How much time do we have before our deadline? Is tonight the deadline for this, or do we have time to get the information from Beth and Chief Moore?
Well, I think the only other thing we could do is if it has to get changed, it'd have to be done on the floor at the meeting.
Well, you can't change the default number on the floor.
Default
No,
numbers aren't changed on the floor. I know I have to post the default and the proposed along with the warrant tonight. I'll have to double check with her because she still has to upload it to DRA, but there's probably, I guess I'd have to ask her. I don't know the time frame.
Okay. And like I said, I don't want it to be taken out of context that I'm 100% behind who we hired and what we hired them for. I just want to make sure that the number that we have posted there is accurate. That's all.
Okay, anybody else? Anything else on the hearing the other night?
I'd just like to say I thought the hearing went well, given the venue and how short a notice we had to try to put that together. So thank you, everybody involved in that one.
Absolutely. I agree 110% on that. It went pretty well.
It did work pretty well. There's nothing else under that, then we'll move on to the manifest. To order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payables checks dated January 28th, 2021, as included in the following manifest. Payroll manifest for $66,567.21. That's the weekly payroll and weekly and monthly payroll. Accounts payable manifest for $91,800.30. The Ware School accounts payable manifest for $300,000. The John Stark payable accounts manifest for $250,000, for a total of $708,367.51. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
John Van, yes.
Ricky, yes.
Yes,
Jack, yes.
Sherry, yes.
Johnny, you still there?
yep, said yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. Okay. The next item we have is the minutes for 117 and 118.
Do you have those minutes? Because I don't have them.
Yeah, I have the minutes for the,
Everybody should have got them through subscribe, or they should have been in your mailboxes.
I got it for the 17th.
I pulled my mail this afternoon. I didn't have any.
Have we set you up to e-subscribe yet?
I'm not sure, but I don't have them. I can tell you
They
that.
get put out. Karen had them both done right away.
Sherry, they're available on the website if you have access to that.
Yeah, I do. Won't help me tonight really, but yeah, you guys can go through them.
I don't have them on e-subscribe either.
I don't have them. I know that. I looked today for them earlier.
Let's table the minutes for the 17th then, until everybody has a chance to review them, would be my thought.
Okay, then we'll table them till next week. How about the 18th?
I don't have either one.
No, I don't have them.
Okay, we'll table the minutes, the 17th and the 18th till next week then. The next item would be the administrator's report.
Right, I sent it out by email for any of you that's there. What I did is I added, we've got a couple meetings this week for Zoom. I'll keep you informed of the Zoom meetings as we go week to week. You're looking at tonight is us, tomorrow night, Finance Committee, and Wednesday night, if the Finance Committee goes too late, they're gonna reconvene for 7 on Wednesday, and Thursday is the Planning Board at 7. Number 9, Robert Clement is our Boston Post-Cane Award holder. We'd like to try to set something up with him and his family for Sunday, this Sunday, the 31st at around 3 o'clock. I have reached out to Fire Chief Vizina. That seems to be one of the places, not necessarily have a drive-through, but it's one of the places that's large enough that we can kind of all keep our distance, but at the same time, his family can arrive and feel safe. So what I'll do is where I think the majority of us will be together. So as soon as I know, I should know either tomorrow or Wednesday that will work. I believe that's the day they have the 24-hour people there, but it will, you know, we'll make it work as what Chief Vizina had explained to me. And then I will post it because we'll all be together. And then I have the cane, I have the proclamation that you signed, and I've got a frame coming in for it. So I'll send you out some notification once it's confirmed, but please, if you can keep Sunday at 3 o'clock at the fire station, that would be great. As you know, tomorrow, Tuesdays, is my regular day off, and then I'm going to not be here on Friday. We're gonna go try to find some snow on Friday. Other than that, for the buildings, the Stone Memorial, the gentleman from ESP came over, and he went over with the fire chief and just to look around, and I believe they have to do it via the cable or the internet as far as the fire alarm, because there's not a phone line over there. So the two of them talked about it, and then he has not got back to me with a day that he's going to be over there yet. But he at least now knows what he needs to do as far as the next step.
So you'll let me know, Naomi?
Yeah, I don't know. He said it's a couple weeks, but he's not sure exactly when. He would let me know. But he now knows what he has to order as far as what he's up against with no phone line.
If it doesn't matter to him down the road, Mondays and Fridays work better for me.
Well, he's gonna, whenever he gets there, he's gonna stay till he's done, so.
Yeah.
But I mean, once he's in there, I believe he's just gonna go to work, so I'm not sure. You know, I think he knows roughly where he needs to be and have stuff, so. But as soon as I know, I'll share.
Okay, thank you.
Hey Naomi, is cell phone link for the alarm system an option? Maybe cheaper than running internet?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I can ask him. I never honestly thought about the cell phone, John, but I guess I can ask him about a cell phone.
Yeah, I know we had one of my former places of employment. We had an alarm system that used the internet with a cell phone backup, and because our internet was always so crappy in the building, it often used that cell phone backup. I'm just curious to maybe we look into that and maybe save a few bucks if that's an option.
Yeah, I'll call in and ask him tomorrow if that's an option. He can look at it and see which way is better.
Naomi,
Yes.
there is internet in the building. In the Stone Building, there is internet between there and the library.
You have a connection in there? You have a router?
Yeah,
Oh, well, we didn't know that, so.
it's been in there for quite a few years now. Way back when the first year Mike Sullivan,
I think it was done in 2018.
I think Mike Sullivan came.
And put internet in the internet.
Well, he wanted us to do internet back so we were capable of having it, because he had the ability to let us use certain programs that he had in the library. So that's been in there for quite a while.
Okay. Well, I don't know, where is it located? Where would he find it?
It's in the north room, near the back window.
Okay.
I thought in the original proposal, Naomi, there was mention of a cell phone dial-up for that, Alon.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember. I know that there is no phone line there, which is where the rest of us have them on the phone line, so.
Right.
There's no phone line.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then next item will be correspondence or other business. Nothing from anybody?
Mm.
Okay. Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I'll third it.
I'll third it.
Okay, all those in favor then?
Ricky, yes.
Jack, yes.
Jerry, yes.
Yep.
Okay, well, have a good night, everybody. Oh, yeah, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Hey.
Thank you.